Deep within the financial architecture of the United States, a system operates. Few people fully understand it, yet its decisions ripple through every household and every business. A recent analysis from a crucial regional outpost of this system now shines a stark light on how population dynamics profoundly shape the nation's economic future. It reveals that shifts in immigration patterns are not just social phenomena. They deliver a direct and undeniable impact on America's bottom line. This crucial analysis comes from the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, one of 12 regional Federal Reserve banks that form the backbone of America's central banking system. Established over a century ago in 1914, the Dallas Federal Reserve presides over the 11th Federal Reserve District. This vast territory encompasses all of Texas, along with parts of Louisiana and New Mexico. It's a region often called the oil patch for its energy dominance. Historically, Dallas was chosen as a Federal Reserve hub over New Orleans due to its rapidly accelerating banking activity. This bank also uniquely focuses its research on the intricate economic ties along the United States-Mexico border, including the workings of maquiladoras, making its insights into demographic trends particularly significant. At the heart of any economic discussion lies gross domestic product, or GDP. This single number represents the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country over a specific period. Think of it as America's economic scorecard, a comprehensive measure of what the nation creates. It tallies everything from consumer spending and business investments to government expenditures and net exports. When more people live and work in a country, they buy more, they produce more, and they demand more services. This fundamental reality means population growth, especially through immigration, directly fuels consumption. It increases the overall demand for products and public services, pushing GDP upwards. This is where the Dallas Federal Reserve's insights become particularly illuminating. Their analysis zeroes in on how a slowdown in immigration directly translates into an economic slump. Fewer immigrants mean a smaller, slower-growing population. This isn't abstract. It means fewer consumers buying homes, fewer workers filling jobs, and less overall demand. Without a steady influx of new residents contributing their labor and their purchasing power, the very components that drive GDP, consumption, investment, and even government revenue from taxes experience a noticeable drag. It's a powerful reminder that people, their work, and their spending are the engines of economic expansion. Understanding this link is critical for institutions like the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve operates under a dual mandate established by Congress to maximize employment and to maintain stable prices. These two goals are intrinsically linked. When an immigration slump constrains labor supply or dampens consumer demand, it complicates the Federal Reserve's efforts to keep the job market robust and inflation at its targeted 2% average. The Federal Reserve must then adjust its monetary policy, often through influencing interest rates, to counteract these real-world pressures and steer the economy back toward its mandated objectives. The decisions of the Dallas Federal Reserve, and indeed all 12 Federal Reserve banks, are part of a larger, carefully balanced system. The overarching authority is the Board of Governors in Washington, District of Columbia. Its 7 members are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate for staggered 14-year terms. While these governors set national monetary policy, the regional banks, like the Dallas Federal Reserve, play a crucial role in overseeing commercial banks in their districts. It's a unique public-private hybrid, with private member banks holding stock in their regional Federal Reserve Bank and electing some board members, while key public representatives are appointed by the federal government. This structure balances local economic insights with national policy objectives. So how does the Federal Reserve actually try to influence the economy in the face of these demographic shifts? The Federal Reserve uses several powerful tools, primarily focusing on managing the federal funds rate. This is the interest rate banks charge each other for overnight loans. Tools like the Interest on Reserve Balances, or IORB, and the Overnight Reverse Repurchase Agreement, or ONRRP facility help the Federal Reserve guide this rate. When the Federal Reserve engages in open market operations, buying or selling government securities, it adjusts the money supply in the banking system. This influences interest rates across the entire economy, from mortgage rates to business loans. These seemingly technical actions are the levers that the Federal Reserve pulls to encourage or restrain spending, investment, and ultimately, employment and price stability. While total GDP provides a measure of national output, a different metric, GDP per capita, offers insight into the average production per person. This figure is often considered a rough indicator of living standards. An immigration slowdown might reduce total GDP growth. Its effect on GDP per capita depends on factors like productivity. This leads to a critical discussion. Does a higher total GDP truly reflect an improved quality of life for everyone? This very question, about the limitations of GDP as a sole measure of welfare, was first raised by Simon Kuznets, Kuznets. He was the economist who actually developed the concept of national income accounts back in 1934. Kuznets and many economists since have cautioned against over-relying on GDP. It notably excludes the immense value of unpaid work like household labor or volunteer services, which contribute significantly to society but aren't exchanged for money. GDP can also reward activities that are environmentally harmful. Consider deforestation. Cutting down forests contributes to GDP through lumber sales, but the environmental degradation isn't subtracted. Traffic jams, ironically, can increase GDP through gasoline consumption, even as they diminish quality of life through pollution and wasted time. These are the externalities that the raw GDP numbers simply don't capture. This leads some to argue it presents an incomplete and sometimes misleading picture of true societal progress. Even with sophisticated models and a dedicated team of experts, the Federal Reserve faces considerable uncertainties in its work. Economic data often arrives with a delay or is subject to later revisions. This means policymakers must make decisions based on an incomplete picture of the present. Furthermore, the precise impact and timing of the Federal Reserve's actions on the economy are never fully predictable. How will a particular interest rate change ripple through markets? How quickly will businesses and consumers respond? These unknowns add layers of complexity to the Federal Reserve's ongoing challenge of balancing employment and price stability, especially when confronted with major demographic shifts, like a dip in immigration. So, while GDP remains a powerful and widely used metric for economic activity, reports like the one from the Dallas Federal Reserve underscore its limitations and the need for more holistic understanding of economic health. Movements around the world champion alternative indicators that move beyond GDP. These include measures like the Human Development Index, which incorporates health and education, or the Gross Ecosystem Product, which quantifies nature's contribution to the economy. While no single number captures everything, the ongoing dialogue spurred by critical research from institutions like the Dallas Federal Reserve continually refines how we measure, understand, and ultimately guide the complex economic landscape.